He may have sold you the car that you drive. He may have sold you your very first car. Your daughter may be on one of the teams that he sponsors, or she may have played in his annual hockey tournament, Arundel Hockey Association. One of your children may have been touched by one of the many children's charities he gives his time and energy to, such as Toys for Tots. Laurie Williamson is a lifelong resident of Mississauga. He attended the original Port Credit Secondary School, married his high school sweetheart, and he was the first graduating class of Sheridan College. Laurie opened his own dealership in 1992. He built the building from the ground up, where an apple orchard once stood. He opened it during the recession, and a lot of dealerships went bankrupt that year. But Laurie Williamson Pontiac Buick has become one of the top dealerships in the GTA. Unfortunately, his father wasn't alive to see his own dream of owning a Chrysler dealership fulfilled by his son. He has won numerous awards for his community service. He was named Mississauga Citizen of the Year in 1995. He was awarded the Queen's Jubilee Medal in 2002. Laurie has also been named Business Person of the Year, but the award that meant the most to him was his Community Involvement Award. He has helped a budding young hockey player who today is one of NHL's biggest stars. Cito Gaston is one of his close friends. Laurie Williamson's personal motto is, "Community starts with support and ends with success." Find out about the heartbreaking family tragedy he overcame and how it inspired him. Find out who the young hockey player he helped is. Join me, Bina Pandya, as I talk one-on-one with Laurie Williamson right after this break. Welcome to One-on-One. I'm your host, Bina Pandya, and joining me, I have Laurie Williamson. Laurie, welcome to One-on-One.
I'm excited to be here.
Glad to have you here. Laurie, you really need no introduction. You're a successful businessman. You're very well known in the community for all your charity work, all your involvement in the community. How long have you been in the city of Mississauga?
I was born here. I was raised at Cawthra and Lakeshore Road.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Port Credit Secondary School when it was the old Port Credit Secondary School on Forest Avenue. And then we were the first class to go to the new Port Credit on Mineola.
What sort of a childhood did you have growing up here?
I grew up in Lakeview, which was the poor suburb of Port Credit. So for a Saturday night, we would all march into Port Credit and go to the only show for a whole bunch of miles around. And we always thought it'd be nice to have a home that had a washroom indoors.
Oh, all right. Do you come from a large family?
No, we have an older brother and two younger sisters.
Uh-huh.
And it's not a large family today.
No, not by standards today. Can you tell me, growing up though, what sort of values were instilled in you by your parents, by relatives around you, and even the neighborhood that you grew up in?
I think basically your parents can guide you, but you know, you're going to make the decisions yourself. And I decided that I wanted to stay in school. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go on to college, university after school, so you had to get good marks.
Right.
And I think it's important that you enjoy yourself and have an active social life, which I managed to accomplish all.
So would you say you were a good boy or a bad boy?
My wife might debate that, but I met my wife in grade 10 or 11 in Port Credit Secondary School, and we're both 17. In December, we're going to be married 33 years.
So it's a long-term sort of courtship that you've had going on.
But she came from the Mineola-Monaco area, and I came from the Cawthra and Lakeshore area. So I'm sure her parents weren't too thrilled that we were dating in high school.
Okay, after high school, where did you go to school? Like, what sort of post-secondary education did you pursue, and why?
I was one of the first students at Sheridan College. I think that was 1969.
One of the first students?
And we were the first graduating class in Sheridan College, which I think was 1971. And that's when there was a condemned high school in Brampton.
And what sort of program were you enrolled in there?
Business administration with marketing major.
What did you hope to do after your business administration and the marketing? What was, your dream job?
I love selling because I love people, but I think you need a financial background, a marketing background, because whatever you sell, whether it be automobiles or something else, you still have to have a background in how the money part works.
Did you start off in the automotive business? Is that what you went to right after Sheridan College?
Actually, I went to Sun Life and sold life insurance for a year.
What sort of experience was that like?
Financially, it was very rewarding, and I got to work right downtown Toronto.
Right.
It was a great year socially, but it wasn't such a good year financially when you look at the long term. I mean, I just couldn't see myself doing it for 30, 40 years. So after 1 year of there, I went to Barrie, and my dad had a Toyota dealership in Burlington, and one of the first Toyota dealerships in Canada, and then he went up to Barrie to manage a Toyota dealership. So I went up and I sold Toyotas for a year.
Okay, so you were actually a car salesman.
In my second career after life insurance, I sold cars.
All right, and what sort of experiences did you have doing that?
Working in Barrie wasn't mine idea of a good time, so after about a year there, I came down to Mavis and Dundas and worked at King Car Datsun, which was the predecessor to Nissan. And then they went to Chrysler, and then in 1978 I went to Holly Pontiac to sell General Motors cars. As a child growing up in automobiles, having a passion for automobiles, General Motors was where you wanted to be.
What drew you back to the Mississauga area specifically? Because, you know, you were in Barrie, you could have gone anywhere. You could have gone to downtown Toronto, you could have gone to Vancouver. Why Mississauga?
I think the one was my wife, Jane. We weren't married at the time, but I still wanted to date her. But I think the other part is I grew up in the area, and I love Mississauga. I love where it's gone, where it's been, from Toronto Township on to the city of Mississauga. Canada's, sixth largest city? But I was comfortable and happy doing business in Mississauga. And after 13 years at Holly's, and I got my own store, I was offered stores all across Canada.
Right.
But I didn't want to leave Mississauga. I was actually the first General Motors dealer they let stay in his hometown. And that worked out excellent for me, because in 1992 the economy was suffering greatly. But we were extremely successful because I knew everybody. So friends bought cars from me, friends had their cars serviced from me. So it worked out exceedingly well. And obviously Mississauga's grown in the last 15 years.
But you weren't just handed a dealership here, you sort of had to work for it, didn't you?
Well, 13 years at Holly's, you have to prove yourselves. And when that wasn't going to work out, then General Motors offered me my own dealership. But getting it in Mississauga was the chore. Not so much getting a dealership, was where. And the overhead in Mississauga was going to be a lot more expensive than up north or in British Columbia or something. But I would rather have a high overhead in the city of Mississauga than being in the country. I mean, I'm really not a country person.
So you stayed here because really you love the city, you love the community, but how did you come up with the finances for a dealership? It's not a small investment.
General Motors was my financial partner.
Oh, really?
So once you prove to yourself to General Motors that you're a capable businessman and you're willing to take care of the customers, they have a financial wing that's helped me with the finances. It took me about 8 years to pay them off.
Well, obviously General Motors must have believed in you, and you are a great success to them. We'll be back right after the break with more with Laurie Williamson. Welcome back to One-on-One with Laurie Williamson. Laurie, you have a successful business. There's no doubt about that. Your dealership is, always rated #1 by customers and things like that. But how did you become so successful?
I think you basically have to take care of the community. We made a commitment a long time ago that advertising dollars are very expensive. And we went the line of supporting sponsorships in local teams. I have my own hockey tournament, the Arundel Hockey Tournament. It's 14 years now. It's the largest of its kind in the world. We have 956 5- and 6-year-olds playing hockey without keeping score, and the motto is everybody's a winner. So you spend your money on that sort of thing instead of newspaper ads and radio ads and television ads. And I think in the 15 years I've been there, it's paid off.
But with the fuel prices, you do have a car business. You must have ups and downs. Let's face it, you sell smaller cars, you sell higher end, large vehicles. How do you deal with the economy and running a business?
Well, my job is to find what you want for transportation needs. I mean, obviously we sell 37 different cars and trucks. We have cars that get 50 miles a gallon. We have the world's largest sport utility vehicles. But I think it's important that you listen to the customer, because some people have 5 children and they can't drive a little car. Some people commute and they need a car that's good on gas. I think it's up to the customer. But being a General Motors dealership, we can give you every end of the spectrum, from small cars to large cars to trucks, to new and to used, and we can support them in the service department.
What about the stereotypes about being a car salesman or a saleswoman? How did you deal with those sort of things?
It's brutal. You still go to cocktail parties and they go, oh, a car salesman, or you're right in there with politicians. But I think the bottom line is you give back to the community and you take care of the customers. You have to set your own standards.
Do you think the perception has changed with the public with the fact that we can get information on the internet about cars? Before we used to always think, with all due respect, that the car salesman is going to rip us off.
Well, people are more educated today. The internet's allowed people to know the pricing of cars and the type of cars and the technical aspects of the car. But you still have to feel what the customer needs and wants. You have to make sure what the customer wants in the vehicles for them. And basically, we have products to sell, but we're lucky with General Motors. We have so many products to sell. We're not locked into 1 or 2 units. But I think the customer is the boss. When the customer comes into our dealership, they have all the facts and figures.
Are you happy with your career choice?
Oh, absolutely love it. I mean, it's probably the best job in the world. Not only do you get to come to work every day and have fun, but you get to drive nice cars too.
You mentioned that you have the hockey tournament that you're very proud of. Why in particular hockey?
I think sports are very important to young people, and I'm very prejudiced to helping children.
Right.
And I think one of the best ways to help children is allow the parents to allow the children to get into sports. And sports can be very expensive. I think soccer is fabulous because you buy a pair of running shoes and away you go. Hockey is very expensive, and some of the baseball uniforms are expensive. In the last 5 years, we've been pushing women's sports because women weren't into hockey. We sponsored the Mississauga Arrows last year, and I would think half the teams we sponsor now are ladies.
Well, I heard a little story about how you helped a local youth achieve his hockey dreams. I want to hear about it from you.
I didn't know. The Mississauga Sports Dinner I've been a big sponsor of, and one year I had a spot at my table and they sat this rather large geeky kid down at my table. He was very, very polite. I had no idea who he was, and I'm not a big hockey fan. Well, it turned out that he played for the Mississauga Ice Dogs, and this young man would stand up when a woman entered or left the table, pour drinks for everybody. I mean, he's just so nice and so polite. And he told me that playing for the Mississauga Ice Dogs, a lot of times he'd get home at 2 in the morning, and he'd have to wake his parents up, who were both working. He couldn't get home. I said, I'll get your car.
And who was this gentleman?
Jason Spezza. And it turned out to be quite a hockey player, and we've been doing business ever since. And the nicest part about Jason, even though now he's an NHL star making the big income, he still gives back to Mississauga. He still supports the same charities that he and I supported when he was 17 years old.
Well, obviously he has you as a role model to look up to.
I think his parents are the role model, but it is so refreshing to see a young man grow, because I've watched him grow the last 8 years, and hasn't changed. He's still a sweetheart, listens to his parents, and takes care of people.
After the break, I'm going to ask Laurie about his interest in children and particularly his passion for children's charities. Welcome back to One-on-One with the charming Laurie Williamson. Laurie, you've given back to the community in so many different ways, but you have a particular interest in children's charities. Why?
Well, my son, who we lost to cancer when he was 19 years of age, was autistic. So we used community living as a basis for support for many, many years, and it's still one of my favorite charities. But it was Tyler was growing up, community living was there to support him. And I think it's a duty of every particular person to support children that can't support themselves. These children can't go out and fundraise. They can't go out and raise money. We have to take care of them. And I think if institutions like Erin Oak and community living are doing a fabulous job with that. And let us remember, the government isn't really there to fund them. It comes out of the corporate sector.
Well, you say, you did lose a child. What was it like when you found out that your son was ill to begin with? Like, how did you find out? How did this come about?
Well, he was almost 6 feet tall. He was 16 years old, and he wasn't feeling well. Luckily, Trillium Hospital sent us down to Sick Kids Hospital, where he was diagnosed with leukemia in November of 1996.
Okay, when he was first diagnosed, what was your initial reaction and your wife's, your family's? I mean, you must have been devastated.
I think you're scared to death. But, I mean, the doctors were so fabulous, and they said the cure rate was this, and, and where else are you going to go in the world to get better medical help for children, or anybody for that matter? But no, it was pretty trying as a parental group. And we moved into Sick Kids Hospital for 6 months. Not only to be with him, but to regulate the medication he was going to be on. My daughter, who was 15 at the time, gave him a bone marrow transplant.
All right.
So we had both children in the operating room.
Kind of sick at the same time, too?
Identical operating rooms for first time in our lives, and it worked out well. But Tyler was home in March and April, recovered, and we got 3 more years, which is a tribute to the medical science of today.
After the 3 years that you had, and he went downhill again, what experience was that like?
Well, we're lucky. Around Christmas time, he self-diagnosed himself as the cancer being back, and we lost him in February. So, I mean, it wasn't a long tribute. But the problem, basically, as a parent, to know you can't help your child is terrifying. You know your child's ill and you can't do anything about it. The doctors can't do anything about it. So it's a pretty dramatic time in your life, but I think you also have to realize that, you know, as a parent, you have to support each other. I mean, you know, my wife and my daughter were there, and we had to all comfort each other.
But what was the stress like, too, on you and your wife, like having a child that's sick? I mean, you can't do anything for that child.
But see, there's where we were very fortunate. Not only were we handy to Sick Kids Hospital, but you know, my job allowed me to have the time off, and my wife was, her job at the time allowed her to have the time off. So one of us was always there for him. But I think as any good parent, you'd respond to an illness of a child.
What are some of the biggest lessons you learned out of this experience, and how do you think it changed you as a person?
Well, I think my son taught me more than most because, you know, when he realized that he came close to a terminal illness, and we enjoyed every day. There wasn't one day went by that we didn't go out and have a good time and or enjoy ourselves. And he taught us that. And we at that time did not know that, you know, the illness was going to come back. But even when the illness was coming back, we still had a good time. And I think that carried on in my lifestyle today, that, you know what, there is no tomorrows, there is no guarantees. So you should share your success and you should have a good time.
Did you ever wonder why your son, why your family?
No, I don't know. It was a good choice of God, I suppose. I think my son was very lucky to have his mother and his sister. And I think it was a good lesson for my family group and my friend group, because he taught everybody so much. I don't think I could have handled it as well as he did.
How important is faith in your life?
I would think I believe in people more than per se a God, but I think it's important that you surround yourself with the people you enjoy and the people that make you a better person.
Would you say that this experience has sort of pushed you to help other people more than you did in the past?
I don't think any more unusual. I think you want to help the people that can't help themselves. It redirects your time and energy to an area that can help themselves, and that's why my wife and I are very, very big in supporting community living and things like that for the children that can't help themselves.
Well, we'll be back after the break with lots more with Laurie Williamson. Welcome back to One-on-One with Laurie Williamson. Laurie, in addition to your hockey passion, you also are involved with Toys for Tots. What exactly is that whole program about that you're in?
I don't think people appreciate what a great police force we have in the region of Peel. I mean, these people volunteer their own time to gather toys for children at Christmas. So we've got together with Canadian Tire for the last 10 years, I think I've been a part of this, I supply the vehicles that pick up all the toys. They get to the Salvation Army and donate it at Christmas. The Peel Regional Police Force do it all on their own time with no charge. I think that's fabulous. And as a corporate identity, I think we should help them.
Well, obviously you're helping out in such a big way. How important has your family support been to your enormous success? I mean, you were also a former Mississauga Citizen of the Year.
That was a big honor in 1995. I've been very fortunate, and I also won Businessman in 2006. But one of the better ones I won was the Community Involvement Award, the Sam McCallion Award, because Sam was a friend of mine, and of course Hazel would be at head table and I would be in the back with Sam having fun. And I watched how he worked in the community and did so many good things behind the scenes that nobody ever recognized Sam for, because he was the one in charge of the Bread and Honey Festival. Yes. So I think he was an excellent mentor. And for me to win an award named after Sam McCallion was a pretty big and special honor for me.
And what about the Rotary Club?
I've been a member of the Rotary Club now for 27 years. That's a sign of getting old.
But they also honored you too.
I got the Paul Harris Award, and I still wear the pin to this day. But I think Rotary is great for helping in the community, because you get a whole bunch of business people together that help people less fortunate than themselves.
Laurie, you've helped in the community. You have a successful business. You've had your ups and downs in your personal life due to your son and, you know, other factors that come into play that are beyond your control. How would you encourage other business leaders to get involved in the community?
Well, in my case, a lot of it was personal, but when we donated vans to the Canadian Cancer Society to allow people to go to Sunnybrook, Princess Margaret, and Credit Valley now, thank God we have cancer treatment there. It was a big honor for my wife and my daughter and I to donate a van to the Canadian Cancer Society in my son's name. And I think more businesses should get involved in helping charities and or causes that can help themselves. And you know what? It doesn't cost a lot of money, and you can donate your time too.
What do you feel has been your biggest success or your biggest achievement so far?
I think my group of friends and family. I think I have a absolutely great social set.
Right.
Because Mississauga has so many dinners, so many golf tournaments, so many galas, that if you surround yourself with a group of like-minded corporate citizens that are involved in the community, you can really have a good time.
Do you believe even somebody that may not have a large business like yours, that just maybe, you know, sort of an average citizen, can give back to the community?
I think people would appreciate you if you bought one ticket or a table of 10. I think just being there, showing your support.
Why do you think it's important to get involved in the local community that you live in?
Because this is where we live, and if you're not going to take care of your own community, no one else is going to do it for you. And we are so fortunate in the city of Mississauga with our politicians and the internet society that, you know what, people can stay home now and do everything by the internet. You got to get out and enjoy your community and get involved.
Now, I understand you have a beautiful daughter.
She's going to be 26 on Saturday, December, August 4th.
Ah, so it's going to be a big party at your house.
Oh, probably.
Would you like her to follow in your footsteps?
Absolutely. I think not only do I have a fabulous job, but my success allows me to give back into the community. And she's been very good, losing her brother and growing up in the family situation, where we donate to charities and community living and all the other charities we do it in. And she's been following my footsteps there, so it would be really nice for her to continue and follow it in the automobile business.
Well, Laurie, it's been a pleasure having you here on One-on-One, and I do have to say, whoever dressed you did a very good job. You do look dapper, and I thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
That wraps up another episode of One-on-One. I hope to see you next time.
One-on-One was videotaped on location at Ethan Allen, located at 2161 Dundas Street West in Mississauga. Bina's clothing was provided by Nygaard, located at 6075 Mavis Road in Mississauga.